Hello, I'm Dr. Jim Taylor, and welcome to Prime Sport Alert. This segment of Prime Sport Alert focuses on demystifying sports psychology. Whenever I talk to athletes and coaches, I ask them what aspect of their sport seems to have the greatest impact on how they perform. Almost unanimously, they say the mental part. I then ask how much time they devote to their mental preparation, and their answer is almost always little or no time. Do you see a disconnect here? Despite its obvious importance, the mental side of sport is often most neglected, at least until a problem arises. The mistake athletes and coaches make is they don't treat their mental game the way they treat the physical and technical aspects of their sport. Athletes don't wait to get injured before they do physical conditioning. They don't develop a technical flaw before they work on their technique. Rather, athletes do physical and technical training to prevent problems from arising. They should approach the mental game in precisely the same way. Also, athletes, coaches, and especially parents seem to hold sports psychology to a different standard than the physical and technical aspects of their sport. Many in sport seem to have the impression that sports psychology can produce miraculous results in a short time. For example, I frequently get calls from parents 2 weeks before an important competition asking me to get their child ready for the big event. Now, though I consider myself very good at what I do, I'm definitely not a magician. Athletes don't expect increases in strength by lifting weights a few times, or an improvement in technique by working on it for a few hours. The only way to improve any area, whether physical, technical, or mental, is through commitment, hard work, and patience. But I'll say this, if athletes make the same commitment to their mental training as they do to their physical and technical training, sports psychology can play an immense role in helping them to achieve their athletic goals. So, to help demystify sports psychology and what it can offer, I thought it would be helpful to describe what I do in my work with athletes, so everyone can consider sports psychology in its proper context, and as a result, maximize its benefits. Let me begin by saying that there are many sports psychology consultants out there. I don't know what they do or how they work. All I can tell you is how I work with athletes. I follow two paths in my consulting work with athletes. The first path emphasizes the development of the 5 psychological areas in my prime performance pyramid: motivation, confidence, intensity, focus, and emotions, through the teaching and use of mental training strategies. For example, goal setting, positive self-talk, intensity control techniques, focusing techniques, mental imagery, and routines. This mental training occurs in 2 settings. First, I typically introduce these concepts in either an indoor group setting to a team or an office setting to an individual athlete, in which I describe their meaning and value to their sports performance, assess athletes' relationship to these 5 factors, and describe the best strategies for developing these areas. Second, and most powerfully, I then work with athletes in their actual training setting and show them how to use the mental skills while they're actually practicing. I found that this real-time experience with mental training enables athletes to ask questions, experiment, get feedback from me, and most importantly, see the direct connection between doing the mental skills, being more mentally prepared, and performing better. If athletes see the connection between doing mental training and seeing improvement, I know that I'll get buy-in from them. My goal on this path is to strengthen the 5 prime performance pyramid factors and to give athletes a toolbox of mental skills that they can use so they can gain the most benefit from their training and to be maximally prepared to perform their best in competitions. The second path explores any obstacles that may have been put in place that prevent athletes from performing their best. For example, habitual negativity, perfectionism, or fear of failure. I help athletes understand why these obstacles interfere with their performance efforts, how these areas developed, and provide insights and tools to remove the obstacles and allow athletes to continue on the path toward their goals. This work generally occurs in an office setting, but I've also found that I can be very productive in exploring these issues while in a training setting. For example, athletes can be very receptive to this exploration while, for example, out for a recovery run or in a weight room lifting weights. I believe this openness occurs because in the practice setting, athletes are in an environment in which they're very comfortable and confident, and they feel less pressure to, quote, figure things out. I also want to note that if I recognize that these obstacles are grounded in more serious psychological issues, I'll make a referral to an appropriately trained mental health professional and may or may not continue to work with the athlete depending upon how these more serious issues impact the pursuit of the athlete's goals. Now, getting buy-in on the psychological side of sport is the first and most challenging step in my work. A question I often ask athletes to help create this essential commitment is how much better I would need to guarantee they would get for them to really commit to the mental side of their sport. Without doing the math, they'll toss out, say, 30% or 10% improvement. So now let's do the math. Let's say you have a track athlete who runs the 1,500 meters in 4 minutes and 32 seconds. 30% of 4:32 is 1 minute and 21 seconds. Obviously, an impossible amount of improvement. Even a 10% improvement, 27 seconds, is not going to happen in a short term. I then asked them if they would make a commitment to sports psychology, if I would promise that they would get 1% faster. Now that 1% seems so small that athletes are often skeptical. But again, when we do the math, 1% of 4:32 is 2.72 seconds, an eternity in track and field. And athletes usually agree, well worth the commitment of time and energy given the rewards. I'm also often asked how quickly athletes can expect results from a commitment to sports psychology. Now, positive change varies depending upon the individual athlete and the issues that are present. For example, issues related to mental training, such as relaxation or focusing, can be improved relatively quickly. I found that athletes can expect to see improvement in these mental skills and in the performance within 6 to 8 weeks. In contrast, issues related to the obstacles I just described, such as perfectionism or fear of failure, take more time. Athletes can expect to see positive changes in these deeper issues within 3 to 6 months typically. So, there you have it, what psychology entails and what I do in my work with athletes. I hope this segment of Prime Sport Alert takes some of the mystery out of sports psychology and helps you better understand what sports psychology can and cannot do, and how it can help you, whether you're an aspiring junior or an Olympian, to achieve your athletic goals. I'm Dr. Jim Taylor for Prime Sport Alert.